Good morning. Welcome to the May 24th, 2021 meeting of the Rutherford County Regional Planning Commission. Stand with us, please. Commissioner Marvin Whitworth will lead us in our prayer and pledge. Marvin.
Let us bow. Our Holy Father, we are indeed grateful for the many blessings you bestow upon us each day. Father, we pray that you will continue these blessings for us, and we pray that you will give us a attitude of gratitude, that we will appreciate the many things that you do for us. Father, be with us in this meeting today. We pray that our decisions will be the judgments that you would desire that we have. We pray that you be with us in all of our deliberations today. Father, we pray for our country. We pray for those men and women who protect us each day, those who risk their lives and leave their families to be so that we may be safe. Father, we pray that in all things we honor and glorify you, and we pray that we will always do your will. In Christ's name, amen. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Call the roll, please, Gail.
Charlotte P. Here. Pinion. Craig Lynch. David Jones. Here. Jim Averwater. Lee Bogle. Here. Marvin Whitworth.
Here.
Mike Cush.
Present.
Addis Reed.
Here.
Rhonda Allen. Here. Jeff Phillips.
Present.
We have quorum.
Thank you, Gail. We have no items withdrawn or deferred. We'll get right into our business. Under new business, 6A, these are items submitted for preliminary plan approval. 6A1, item number is 21-1003, Boris subdivision, 8 lots on 7.68 acres, zoned RM, located off Compton Road. Chadwick Christensen is the applicant. Doug?
Yes, sir. Thank you, and good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well today. This particular preliminary plan was removed from the April 26th 2021 Planning Commission agenda as we were waiting on the water will serve letter from CUD. That letter has been submitted to staff and does allow for the number of lots that they're asking for on this. As you stated, it's a total of 8 lots along right off of Compton Road. Lot 1 was actually created by final plat back in 2016 and would need to be readdressed whenever this particular plat is recorded. Staff's primary concern for this particular development is the drainage in the area. I'll let Mike discuss that. Most of our comments have been addressed, but like I said, I know that there was several issues with drainage on this, and I'll turn it over to Mike for his discussion on that.
Okay, thank you, Douglas. They have addressed most of our concerns. What we had seen originally was a stream that TDEC had identified many years ago, but we believe it had been farmed out and is no longer a stream. We asked them to do a stream determination, and they came back that it was not a stream any longer, but it does have a significant flow through here. So what they're proposing to do, and I'll show you, is water comes in from I guess it's the southeast. It's kind of turned north is to the left of the sheet here, but flow would come in through here across this existing driveway culvert section. It'll hit a berm and then be directed around this little area here and then flow this way to a large box culvert underneath Compton. So, and then what will happen is they'll have a swale ditch around here. Will pick up the flow of these lots and go into a created detention pond here. And this, I guess it'll be the northwest corner right at the Compton Road. So we believe that, you know, since it's not a stream, they can redirect it around with no implications. It's been farmed over the years, and it's no longer got the characteristics of a stream. But, you know, all said and done, the plans are in pretty good order, and you know they've done a lot of work on this. Even though it's not construction plans, they have done a lot of work to show that the drainage will work. All these lots will have minimum pads to make sure they're up high enough, and we feel pretty comfortable about it. And here's what Doug was talking about. This was Lot 1, the Prater subdivision. And right now it's on a gravel driveway, but they're going to build a county road, ditch section road back here with the cul-de-sac here. So this lot will have to get revised to show that additional right-of-way. And then it'll be carved up in lots through here.
Staff recommends approval.
Yes, sir. Any remaining tweaks that need to be made will catch during construction drawings and obviously before final plat's recorded. So.
Mr. Chairman, seeing no questions, I would make a motion to approve with staff comments.
Thank you, Mike. We have a motion and a second to approve item 21-1003, Bora subdivision. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Feels pretty good to say that, doesn't it? Item 6A2, 21-1005, Hall Hills Estate, 128 lots on 99.35 acres, zoned PUD, located off Halls Hill Pike. Scott Butler and Dr. Armand Sherberman are the applicants. Doug?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Preliminary plan. This is for a matter of historical reference, if nothing else. But a preliminary plan was approved by the Planning Commission for Parcel 53, which is the larger tract, back in September of 2019. There are several sinkholes on this property, so the applicant abandoned that plan and submitted the plan development that's before you today, which was approved by the Board of Commissioners, the zoning at least, back in January of this year. The lot yield that they are getting out of this is pretty comparable to what was originally approved, although the minimum lot size is smaller, of course, than the 15,000 square foot that they were approved for originally. Along with Parcel 53, the adjacent tract, this is actually a little larger than what was approved in the PUD, not because the PUD has changed any, but they have a cul-de-sac, and Mike can show that on, well, you can see that on a map here. Lots 1, 22, 3, 4, 5, and 6, those are actually on an adjacent track, and those are still zoned RL, but those are larger tracks. Those technically aren't part of the planned development zoning. They're just going to access the cul-de-sac there that Mike is highlighting. So just to give you an idea of why the discrepancy for the number of lots based on what was approved in the PUD. It's a separate zoning, but everything else is consistent with it. Turn lanes are to be installed along Halls Hill Pike onto Smith Hall Road, and sidewalks have been included on one side of every street. Again, this item was originally going to be on the April 26th agenda, but was pulled as they were still awaiting the step will serve letter from CUD regarding those larger lots. Beyond that, most of our comments have been addressed. I'll let Mike discuss any leftover engineering comments, but for the most part, this plan does appear to be in good order. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Like Doug said, they are going to establish much of the subdivision on an existing Smith Hall Road, and I'll show you that pretty quickly. So Smith Hall is an existing county road, and then the subdivision will be on both sides. They're going to bring Smith Hall Road up to current county standards, and you can see why. They've got a lot of these lots will be fronting on Smith Hall Road. If you look, Smith Hall goes back to a few parcels to the south. Most of the land around here, I think, is state of Tennessee property, and will not be developed. Let's see. I think this big parcel is, this parcel is. Now these are owned by a wedding event venue right here, and this is the end of the road right here. So we don't see a lot more development happen on Smith Hall Road, but with this development here, they are going to be adding turn lanes. There'll be a eastbound right turn lane and a westbound left turn lane into Smith Hall Road, and you can kind of see that on the plans here, where they're adding those improvements. They'll have a mail kiosk and open space area here at the front. People can grab their mail and go off, to their house. Some of the issues that we had on the earlier plan are still we need to be careful with on this plan. You can see these hatched areas. These are identified sinkholes. And our concern is with some of these lots, it's going to be tricky for a homeowner to get a driveway and a step tank and everything along the frontage of Smith Hall, especially these two lots, 9 and 10. So we're going to have to pay special attention to those, make sure that those are addressed and they can get a driveway in here. So anything that'll be near a building envelope will need a geotechnical report done, have a geotech engineer on site to make sure they're closed properly. Let's see. I'll try to find you something with a little more topo and you can kind of see. So, I mean, some of them are pretty significant, and they're wanting to preserve a lot of these. So we'll have to pay special attention to those that are close to building envelopes and roads. Let's see. Forgive me. There we go. Okay. So these are the ones I was talking about. It's going to be tricky getting a step tank, and they're showing a driveway right here next to the step tank on the edge, so that sinkhole is going to have to get modified, at least to allow a safe passage through here. But then, they've got this other sinkhole that they've got to cross here to get back to the area in the back. So these will most likely be critical lot grading plans because of the geologic features on here. So we will pay special attention to those. But like Doug said, they have addressed our comments, and we will work with them with the design of the construction plans.
Mike, my concern with sinkholes is, and having dealt with them for the past 60 years, is every year I find a new one.
Yes, sir. Right.
And if I've got a list like this that you can move over 50, 75 feet over where those houses are, and next year there might be a sinkhole right where somebody's house is.
Right, and that was some of our concern. When the original development came in, they had proposed to, extend streets back in here and, the road network and everything. And the lots were a lot larger, but they did extend in this area. And if you've ever seen a USGS map, you can kind of see sinkholes will line up and it'll look like a tree, and it'll have branches of sinkholes coming off other directions. So we were kind of concerned with all these sinkholes lining up like this, and asked them to reevaluate it. And I think that's part of the reason this came back as a different development with smaller lots, but only developing along one side of that Smith Hall Road, well, both sides of Smith Hall Road, but not bringing roads into this area. So anything that's done with a sinkhole will need to be done under the direct supervision of a licensed geotechnical engineer. He'll have to have a geotechnical report submitted to the county prior to any building envelopes or anything like that. So, like I said, this is an area we'll need special attention, but
If I read this right, it looks like there is possibly an underground stream going southeast to
That was our
northwest,
concern.
one way or the other. And if that is true, they could pop up anywhere along that underground stream.
yes, sir.
Not to be too personal, but I found some new ones last week cutting hay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for you, Mike. The hash marks around these sinkholes, that's easements, correct?
Those are buffers. We're, from the top of bank out, we're asking them to preserve this area, keep any work. If they get into that, they'll need to, show that the work is done properly. But these are buffers.
Well, I just question, not only do new sinkholes appear, but current sinkholes enlarge. I've seen that myself. So how can these lots, and it looks, and very close to the building sites, be in the easements? It's just knowing the instability of sinkholes, and I appreciate what a difficult spot this is, and they've had to adjust, but I'm still leery of the lots, and many times, in lot 83, 47, and the building site is very close to the easement of the sinkholes.
Yes. And lots 7 and 8, those are, most likely, those will need to be filled in. Those are of concern to us as well, because the building envelope is right there, and you've got, significant sinkhole right behind you.
Any of those lots be identified as critical?
Yes, sir. Like I said, most of the lots on this west side of Smith Hall Road will be critical lots. I think you can kind of see, let me zoom in a little bit more. So 3, 4, and 5, those will definitely be filled in. There's a sinkhole there. Sinkholes are a common occurrence in Rutherford County, but if they're done correctly, with the geotechnical engineer, what they'll do is they'll excavate out the sinkhole area, and they'll go down to solid rock, and they'll look for the open throat, and they will take this non-woven fabric and stretch it over the entire depression, and then they'll take big boulders and they'll place them in the low end, and as they're working up, the boulders are getting smaller and smaller and smaller until they have a gravel cap on it. They'll take the fabric, flap it back over the top, and then fill with topsoil on the very top, and they will direct water away from it, so there's not the continual erosion of the subgrade. So that's typically what happens. But if you know what's underneath the ground, you have a geotechnical engineer evaluate it, from day one. It's not unusual that houses are built on top of previous sinkhole areas. So it's.
Chairman,
Yes, David.
Smith Hall Road, it looks like all of these step systems are going to cross it, and then run down to the step area. Is Smith Hall Road during construction going to stay usable, and is the contractor responsible for putting that road all the way back?
Yes, sir. Right.
Standards.
It will have to stay open because of the residents on the far south end of it. So we'll have to keep that passable So it's going to take a while to get that done, but that, like I said in the beginning, that they are going to rebuild Smith Hall Road, bring it up to current standards. So they're going to tear it up with these service lines for the step system and the water system, and drainage improvements and everything else, electricity. So it's going to get torn up, but it'll have to stay passable for the residents at the far south end.
There are several lots, like number 2 and looks like number 9, just as an example, that are really big lots. After construction and the place is built out, the HOA, I'm sure, will be in charge versus the developer. So the developer will be gone. What will happen if there are issues with those sinkholes, like on number 9 and number 2? If there are issues that develop with those sinkholes, who's responsible for them? The lot owner, or?
Yes. Yeah, these will all be private ownership. These won't be open space. These will be owned by a citizen. So
like lot number 9, as an example, that has that sinkhole that is in the front and kind of on the back of number 7 and number 8. So it's lot owner number 9's responsibility if start having issues with that sinkhole that touches properties 7 and 8. That's a concern that, I don't know if I were looking at that lot and I said, man, that's a big lot, I'd kind of like to have that. But does that property owner know that what could be facing him or her in the future if they start having issues with that? I'm just wondering, is it the property owner's responsibility if 7 and 8 start having problems, or the HOA's responsibility? Whose is it?
Well, that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, is being so close to lot 7 and 8 that during construction plan review, we'll probably require them to fill that in. That's such a significant opening, and you can see with the contours, it's pretty deep too. So we're gonna need them to fill that in to protect 7 and 8, but also just looking at it, and what I kind of touched on earlier, how do you get a driveway back there to build a house somewhere back in here? I mean, unless you build right here and kind of just snake it around and build a house right there, it's going to be pretty tough to get back to the back of the property. So,
can the property owners, like on those large lots that have all the sinkholes on them, can they do anything with that back lot?
Yes, that's their property. They can use it as they see fit. But any construction around any of these identified sinkhole areas would definitely need a geotechnical report if they wanted to build anywhere near those. Looking at the land, the soil, I believe it is mostly our old friend Gladeville rock. Let's see. Yeah, GRC, Gladeville rock. So it's just rocky ground, and if they're pretty difficult to do any kind of, if it do a conventional septic system back here, they're using the good low area for their step system, and you can see on an aerial, if you can see that you've got a piece of property that has heavy tree cover on it, there's several reasons. It's either too rocky, too steep, or there's some kind of other feature that it can't be farmed, and that's been the case with this one. It's too steep and rocky. So that's what we're making sure with construction plans review, with home construction, anything. This is an area that we're going to have to keep special attention on.
There'd be notes that relate to discharge. I know some sinkholes discharge at times, and would these be identified whether they ever have any discharge?
Well, the soil, I mean, the underground connectivity of the sinkholes, the karst terrain, most sinkholes are connected one way or the other. And sinkholes take on water, but they can also pump water out. So that's what I'm saying. It will need each lot of these on that side specifically will need a critical lot grading plan to make sure that the house is protected in an area elevated. So if the sinkhole does fill up and start to spill out, it won't be, directed toward the house. It can go a different direction away from it. We'll have to. I keep repeating, have to keep special attention to it. So
I don't mean to dominate the conversation, you guys. So, but why did the developers decide not to develop what was approved before and go with something different?
I think a lot of it had to do with the location of those sinkholes. Prior to this particular design, I mean, they were looking at 15,000 square foot lots, but those sinkholes were impacting a lot more of the individual lots than what this plan is showing. There are still some that are there that are impacting lots. Now, a lot of them, like Mike said, are on those larger lots on the west side of Smith Hall Road, but a lot of the areas on the east side where there were some other areas of concern, those have been pretty much taken out and are just being used as common area open space.
Why? I'm just asking, and it may show my ignorance, but why would we have large lots that are the homeowner's responsibility instead of creating open spaces in that area to where it would be the HOA's responsibility to maintain that? Why are we doing that?
Well, that's, quite frankly, I mean, that's the way that the developer wanted to take care of that. Like I said, under the older design, there wasn't as much open space, if any. They had a little bit for the, the kiosk area and whatnot, but beyond that, the lots themselves were, it probably would have been more pronounced under the old design than under this one.
I may be barking up the wrong tree, but why don't we eliminate lots 9 and 10 and create all that as open space?
Developer is present if they want to hear from them.
Does staff have a comment there?
no,
Not really. I mean, if that's, with like I said, with the larger lots, I mean, there's a lot of acreage tracts in the county that have a similar problem. They just deal with the sinkholes as they come up.
And we were thinking, just thinking out loud. You can see they've got a playground over here on lot 127. We were thinking just as a alternate design. Let's see if I can find that. Why not make that more building space? Let's see. I'm sorry. Well, I'll find it one of these days. Okay, so right here, you can kind of see at the top of the page. You could probably get 1 or 2 lots right there, and move that playground towards the kiosk up front where you've got a parking area. That was just us thinking out loud. Why not, move that playground over here, and people can come over here and park and let the kids play, pick up their mail, and then go back to the house. And then, you can pick up a couple lots there instead of, having these big open space lots that you've got to span these sinkholes. The ground looks pretty good where this, playground is located. So that was just our kind of a side thought on us.
I know this is a preliminary plan, and we'll have to see it again, but it looks like there's a lot of information that needs to come to staff before a final plat is presented to the Planning Commission. And from a preliminary perspective, is there a recommendation from staff? Or
Well, as far as the comments that we had, I think we were comfortable with what they were presenting as far as did it meet our regulations. So from that standpoint, from just the preliminary plan, I think we're okay moving forward with it. Now, like you said, there still is a lot of information needs to be brought forward during the construction plan phase, and that'll have to be all fleshed out before you ever see a final plat come before the Planning Commission.
Sinkholes are pretty common. They still make me nervous, but I as long as you've got a good geotechnical engineer, and so down here on lot 1, you can kind of see one into the road a little bit. That's definitely going to have to be taken care of. We don't want our road failing, but is it the best, idea? Maybe not, maybe need a little tweaking. So that was our thought, just kind of close some of these sinkholes where we could, where it's really, really dangerous, and maybe pick up a lot or 2 somewhere else.
I know that applicant has put a lot of work into this and a lot of expense into this, and just put yourself in, put your planner's hat on, okay, and looking at the future. A sinkhole makes you nervous, but 20 sinkholes should make you really nervous. And my concern continues to be the future. I don't want anyone 10 years from now, 15 years from now, or 20 years from now, if some of us are still around, some property owner coming back and saying, how could you approve something like that? How could you ever approve something like that? And I know 20, 25 years ago, we probably wouldn't have challenged this type of a development as much as we're challenging it now, but I think we're doing our job, and I appreciate this commission being so mindful of not only what a development looks like now, but what potential problems it could have. The things that make me nervous are the fact that we've got huge lots that somebody's going to be responsible for, instead of the HOA being responsible for. Me, as a developer, really, I don't like that plan. And if the applicant is here and would like to make some comments on that, I'd kind of like to hear from them, if that's okay with the commission. Is the developer here? Someone from SEC here?
I haven't
Is this
seen
yours?
anybody, yes.
Is this yours? Which one of you guys, which one of you guys belong to this? Neither one of you are willing to live up to it? Whoever belongs to this, come up here. I don't want to pick on this guy, I want to pick on you for the most part.
I'm used to Richard's mess.
You've heard some of the concerns.
Yes, sir.
And have you developed a piece of property like this with this many issues that relate to sinkholes?
This is probably the most sinkholes, but I've definitely developed plenty with
We did the Preserve.
South Haven.
And South Haven. They both had
Yeah, a lot of things over by West Point, which is the
Creeks Bend.
Creeks Bend, Nature Walk.
It's pretty common occurrence.
It's very common, so we do feel comfortable with it, but this is a large, focused cluster of them. But as Mike was alluding to, many of these will have to be closed just for constructability purposes, just to cover the driveway entrances and remove it from lots 8 and 7, for example. And I would have to ask Doug this, but could we make it the HOA's responsibility even though it's on somebody's lot?
I mean, I think you could build that into the covenants and restrictions as far as that. I think it becomes a little more problematic when they're on private lots like that. But I mean, I'm sure there's some way that could be worked out, you know. I might actually want to refer to our legal counsel, Nick, not to put him on the spot, but I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but
Mike, could you go back to the master plan?
Okay.
And this was just me kind of spitballing it for him. Another option could be to connect the open space of lot 21 to kind of the back portion of the properties, and kind of force some of that area to be in common area.
So what he's saying is this mail kiosk area, could we combine, is you're saying combine these larger parts
Combine
with lot 21?
It's kind of the southwestern portion of some of them. So you would still have a larger lot for lot 20, 10, 9, and 2, but a portion of it would be kind of taken out to be in common area.
Mm-hmm.
Just to preserve those sinkholes and, you know, kind of what you were worried about, you know, it's not necessarily the sinkholes that you see, it's the sinkholes that you don't. You know, right now, the owner, if he builds on it, you know, he might be 300 feet away from any of the sinkholes, and, you know, it could, in theory, still have a sinkhole there, but that could be said anywhere across the county. You know, we do the best that we can, and the geotech would have to be comfortable with what was built, because most of these will have to be critical lot, as Mike said.
So we had one that surprised us, was at Creeks Bend, where it crossed the road in several lots that they, John T. Holloway had to pay to have closed.
Right.
It was pretty substantial.
Yeah, and I mean, once construction has started and all the trees have been cleared out, it is possible that they would find more, but anything that they found in addition, they would have to close.
It's the thought of large lots that have sinkholes on them. Why that instead of creating just normal sized lots and using that as common space so that the HOA would have responsibility for it and not the property owner?
Well, I think a big part of that now is just people still want those larger estate lots, and they're very hard to come by. So, you know, it's kind of a give and take. I know the lots on like Clear Creek, those estate lots, they're quite large, but you have probably 300 feet of it's not buildable because of floodway, floodplain, and et cetera. And it's kind of the same situation on these. Whatever house plan came about for those larger lots, they still couldn't build around those sinkholes. So I mean, they're still restricted, but they would get the benefit of having a larger yard and lot. Because I know the county gets lots of complaints about, they only have a 20-foot backyard. Right. So, that's one of the benefits of leaving it as somebody's property, is just they get a nice area.
That makes a lot more sense to me, that there probably would be a number of folks that would find that size of lot desirable. My concern is the responsibility that they're taking as it relates to those sinkholes and building on those lots. So I didn't mean to put you guys, I did mean to put you guys on the spot, but I didn't mean to be argumentative. You have any particular comments about?
Yes, sir. I'm Scott Butler, one of the owners. If we need to change that 9 and use some lots there beside 85, I believe? Yeah, 85, 86. I mean, we're not opposed to doing that. And if it would help Lot 1, if that sinkhole goes underneath the road, if we need to address that too, as far as changing a lot out there to help with that one. 9 and 10, we could, if we need to share driveways or move the lot line over on 10 to help 9 out, we could do that. But that was the whole goal, was to try to utilize that property with so many sinkholes and just keep the houses away from it. But in my mind, sinkhole's the wrong name. It needs to be called. They need to be called drainage holes, because in Valley Green and Smyrna, the whole subdivision we just finished it about a couple months ago. And we had so many sinkholes, we didn't even have to have a retention pond. So it's made for drainage to drain under the ground and drain the property where it doesn't flood. So it helps with that. And also, the drainage holes or sinkholes in Tennessee are solid rock usually. Typically, it's not like Florida, where people have the mindset of the sand, where it erodes and highways and houses cave in. So it's the wrong perception. I like sinkholes because, like 7 and 8, you will have nobody, you typically build behind you. So you have that privacy having a sinkhole, because it's trees and natural and like open space that, nobody's going to be at your back door there. So that's kind of why we like sinkholes. I welcome them. We try to keep a house off of them. We don't usually like to build on them because, it's just not, you have to disclose that when you sell the house. So we try not to build on them because it's just a negative that we don't want to do. So we'll stay away from them as far as we can, but we like them like in the rear yards to help with that for privacy. But, with that said, if we need to change that, I'd like to just, if there's some way to put it in comments or something instead of delaying it till the next meeting. We've been 2 years on this, and we're just trying to, move forward with it, if that was possible to do something like that, But I may talk too much. But
no, you didn't. You did fine, actually. You did really good. Any questions? Thank you. Somebody that's in the garbage hauling business says that they love garbage. This guy loves sinkholes, and it cleared a few things up in my mind. Okay. Once again, this is a preliminary plan, and you heard the developer and the engineering firm indicate that they would be willing to make some changes to that. So without any further questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make that motion to approve preliminary plans on this subdivision with all staff comments and future corrections around the sinkholes.
David. Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the preliminary plan for item number 21-1005, Halls Hill Estates, and that's with a lot of comments. Any other questions? All those in favor of approving the preliminary plan, please say aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Once again, thank you for being here and for those comments and helping clear some things up. 6A3, preliminary plan for item 21-1007, Richland Downs, 181 lots on 81.37 acres zoned PUD located off Richardson Road. Park Trust is the applicant. Doug?
Yes, sir. Thank you. This plan development was approved by the Board of Commissioners just last month. This plan does appear to be consistent with the approved pattern book. We did have several comments for the design engineer. Most of those comments have been addressed. Quite frankly, most of the comments, the remaining comments are just little tweaks here and there as far as some of the lot lines and things like that. For the most part, this plan does appear to be in good order. Mike, I don't know if there was any outstanding engineering comments. One thing that I will point out at the I guess that'd be the northeast portion of that lot where it connects to the Thompson Downs subdivision, where Mike is highlighting on the map. That connection is, well, a lot of it's going to depend on what road gets there first, because Thompson Downs is under development right now. This road is going to connect into, I think it's, where is that, Mike? Is that, it doesn't really matter. But is that Caillou?
Read it. Let's see.
I think it's Caillou. But you can see that that connection is to be made. If for some reason one or the other development is not in place prior to this, there'll have to be a temporary cul-de-sac, which has been shown on lots, looks like 16 and 15. You can see it right there. I just want to bring that to the board's attention more than anything. That will be a through street. It's just a matter of timing. So with that, though, the plan does appear to be in good order. And like I said, I'll let Mike address any outstanding engineering issues that might be remaining on this.
Like Doug was saying, it's directly south of Thompson Downs, another step system subdivision. And there will be a connection here. There's a little bit of a curve in Richardson Road, but they are going to be installing a left turn lane into the development here and kind of straightening this curve out to help with sight distance and all. Another unusual feature that we're going to look at this development is let's see if I can find it. We're going to have a little alley at the end. Instead of having two cul-de-sacs here, we're going to have an alley connecting these two roads. This will be part of a common area here, but you can see there's a bus turning template showing that a bus can make it through here, trash truck or emergency vehicle here. So this is going to be a connection between these two roads here. It's kind of a little bit different from what we've seen in the past. And like Doug said, there will be a connection here. Ideally, these roads will be completed at the same time. We won't need temporary turnarounds because you can see that the layout of, if this were built first, these driveways, step tanks, and all that would be in the way of this temporary turnaround. So we'd rather not have a temporary turnaround because these lots would probably need to wait until this temporary turnaround is removed because of the step tanks and the driveways on that. But there were some streams identified and wetlands, but they've kept the development out of those streams and wetlands. There's an area here on this kind of the southwest edge of the property, and there's a little stream that's been identified that meanders in and out of the development. Let's see, what else? They are proposing several stormwater detention ponds. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 detention ponds. So we'll have a lot of, because of the way the land breaks several different directions, they'll have these different stormwater management areas. There is a mail kiosk in this location. Everybody will be getting their mail here. Let's see if I can find where that shows up on the plan. You kind of see it here with a little playground area and the mail kiosk and a little bit of a walking trail there. But all in all, like Doug said, I believe they've addressed all of our concerns on the preliminary, and we will review this in more detail with the construction plans.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
Here you can see the two parcels highlighted that will be part of this development, Richland Downs, Thompson Downs, just to the north of it. You can see the new road network kind of laid out here. There is a cemetery, I think, in this kind of corner here, but they are providing access to it by Richland Richardson, I believe. Let's see.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mike.
Rhonda.
Mike, you identified wetlands. Are they having to do any wetland mitigation, or are they just leaving those undisturbed?
They're going to leave them undisturbed. They're going to preserve it and keep a buffer around it. And likewise, the stream that it emptied into will have a buffer, and we'll preserve those.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no other questions, I'll make a motion that we approve, subject to all staff comments.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve a preliminary plan for Richland Downs, item number 21-1007. Other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. That concludes our preliminary plan. We've just preliminary approved over 300 new lots. 6B, items submitted for final plat approval. 6B1, the item number is 21-2034. 3520 West Jefferson Pike subdivision, 3 lots on 1.37 acres zoned RM located off West Jefferson Pike. K&B Investment Partners is the applicant. Doug?
Yes, sir. Thank you. The Planning Commission approved an off-site sales waiver for this property back in March of this year. As we stated during that meeting, the applicant's proposing to split this property into 3 lots. The existing residential structure on Lot 1 will no longer be accessory, so they will have to make an application for a rear setback variance to the Board of Zoning Appeals, which they have done. That'll be going to the Board of Zoning Appeals next month in June. The other lots, of course, the existing home in the middle there will stay, and then they'll have another building lot. I guess that'd be on the eastern side, as you can see on the plat map before you there. So again, the waiver request is for the existing SSDS, as you can see on the plat there before you for Lot 1. That's in favor of Lot 2. So there are soils shown on the other ones. As far as our comments are concerned, this appears to be in good order. Our comments have been addressed. With that, of course, I can't approve a plat administratively that has a waiver, and this is also 3 lots, so this would have to come before you regardless. So with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Staff recommends approval.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
Move to approve with staff comments. And a second. We have a motion and a second to approve the final plat for item 21-2034, 3520 West Jefferson Pike subdivision. Other questions? All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Final plat for item number 21-2032, 12 Corners, Section 2, Phase 2, 28 lots on 16.7 acres zoned RL located along Pegasus Run. RHB is the applicant. Doug.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The preliminary plan for this development was approved by the Planning Commission back in April of 2019. This is consistent with that preliminary approval. We did have several comments on this. We did send those comments to the applicant's design engineer. Those comments have been addressed. There are a couple of sinkhole locations on here that sinkholes were filled. They need to show the locations of those and provide a geotechnical report to our engineering staff. We have requested that information. I don't believe we've received that yet, but we'll make sure that that is addressed and that's reflected on this plat before we will allow it to be recorded. Besides that, our other comments have been addressed, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Doug. Mike, anything?
No, sir. They will have a mail kiosk in this area, and I believe there are a couple detention ponds, one in 160 and one in 181, and it'll be an extension of Pegasus Run over this stream here, and there will be a temporary turnaround. The developer owns the adjacent property, so we'll put a temporary turnaround here and here on. It's actually north is to the right as you're looking at it. So there'll be a temporary turnaround on the south and to the east here.
Well, Doug, one way to prevent conversation on a final plat with sinkholes is not to put them on the plan. Where are the sinkholes that are not on the plan?
Well, that's what we've requested the information about. Apparently they filled some sinkholes and we're waiting for the geotechnical report on that. So those will have to be reflected, that certain lots had ones that were closed, and the geotechnical report, there'll be a note on the plat to that effect.
You're comfortable with us approving the final plats subject to
our comments?
Okay.
Likewise, just if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, you know, we treat it like a duck. So any of the lots that were in these areas where they show these circle contour lines, that we'll make sure that those have compaction reports before we release those.
Y'all are comfortable. I just personally, I'm a little, after all the conversation we had earlier about sinkholes on a preliminary plan, and this is a final plan, and they're not even shown on here. I want to make sure y'all are comfortable with that.
Right.
I'm not sure I am voting on that.
They're shown on the construction drawings, but they've been closed during construction. So we just need the proof that they've been closed properly under the direct supervision of a licensed geotechnical engineer. So until we have that information, we can't release these lots.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve with staff comments and geotech reports on the sinkhole closures.
Thank you, David. I have a motion to approve and a second. Other questions? We have a motion and a second to approve the final plat for item 21-2032, 12 Corners, Section 2, Phase 2. Other questions or comments? All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye. Opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. 6C, there are two items submitted for site plan approval. 6C1, item number is 21-3010, Rutherford County Public Safety Center at Kittrell. Construction of 10,560 square feet of public safety center on 13.19 acres, zoned IN, located at 8067 Woodbury Pike. Rutherford County is the applicant. I'm sure that Commissioner Reed will have opposition to this.
Yes, sir. Thank you. As you stated, Rutherford County does have plans to construct several public safety centers throughout the unincorporated area. These centers will include fire protection, ambulances, and shelters for severe storms. And Commissioner Reed, obviously, if you wanted to go in any more detail, I would definitely defer to you on that. This center that we're looking at right now would be located on the old Kittrell School property located along Woodbury Pike. The existing ball field and permanent structures will remain, but there are some storage trailers that will be removed. There is adequate parking on site along with the proposed parking for this facility. We did have several comments that we did send to the applicant's design engineer. A couple of them just bear a little more discussion. For the most part, as far as the plan is concerned, we're comfortable with the plan. I know there still are discussions ongoing about the adequacy of the existing septic system on the property. I know that there are discussions going on with TDEC right now as far as what might need to be done for that. Also, when it comes to access to the property, there are several utilities and things that will have to be moved, electric poles and different things like that in order to accommodate that. So those are really just for the Planning Commission's information. Besides that, those are the biggest comments that we have that I say they're outstanding, but there's things that do need to be worked through. But with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Doug. Without recognizing Commissioner Reed to spend an hour and a half going over the value of these public safety centers, Commissioner Reed, would you take a couple of minutes and explain what a public safety center is?
Since you brought me to the forefront, and you know, Mr. Chairman, when you give me the floor, especially on this particular topic, you're offering, you're in trouble. But let me explain something to you coming this evening, that the name of these centers will be changed and what we're looking at. We have spent the past week looking at ways that we can pay for these centers, and we have gone all the way to Washington, all the way to Nashville and everywhere, and we're looking at ways to do this, and we think we have found that, and we're feeling really good about it, and we're going to be presenting that tonight at Public Safety. But we have gone about and we've found that the name of these will now be called Rutherford County Health and Public Safety Centers, and we'll be looking at the possibility, as you had mentioned earlier, Doug, that there will be more. We're looking at the possibility of 6 of these across the county. But as I had presented to the County Commission just a week or so ago, that our plan in these is we're looking to serve the entire county with these centers. And these centers will house ambulance service, they'll house fire, as well as the sheriff's office will be located within these centers. 6 of them around the county, working somewhat like a spider web, if you had to look at it when you'll see it placed. There'll be these 2, one in Rockvale, one in Kittrell, one in Christiana, one in Las Casas, one in Walter Hill, and one in Amelville. And when you take the palm of your hand, which I often call Rutherford County, I don't know if you've ever looked at your hand as Rutherford County, but it looks a lot like it when you look at it on the map. But you look at those placings, you'll see that there's 6 of them placed around there. And each one of them are on the outskirts of Murfreesboro. So these centers will not only operate for the county, the outside area of the county, they'll be on the outskirts of the city of Murfreesboro as well as Smyrna, and going that direction as well as going towards Eagleville. So what they'll be doing is taking care of not only, and we're saying now, not only the public safety of Rutherford County, but the public health. These are designed to work with not only the fire and the emergencies that we have as far as the sheriff's concerned and as far as the ambulance is concerned. We have now tied these into our health programs. And what we'll be using these centers for is that if we have another pandemic, and we hope never to have that again, but you know the possibility is always there. But we have looked at ways that we're going to use our health department, and Chairman, you'll be involved in this too. But we'll be using these centers as a possibility of a place, rather than all of our people coming to State Farm down here for their vaccinations or their testing or the health department, they'll come to these centers. And we'll have already EMTs stationed there where they can do a lot of this, as well as we'll possibly work with some of our health department doing this too, as well as anything else we may have that involves this situation. So they now become a public center for health as well as everything else that we have. These centers also, and you look at these drawings that you have there, they have a tornado shelter there that will withstand an F4, 250-mile-per-hour winds. They have a community pantry of over 1,000 feet up on a mezzanine up there, where we'll probably be giving these shots and things that you might need for the health of the community. And this will also be a place that the community can recognize as this is a place for our community to go in emergencies or whatever. So we're quite proud of these and what these will be. In fact, as we talked to Nashville, I was sitting down in the mayor's office as we made a contact in Nashville, and they said, y'all have really been thinking. And we were quite proud of that fact, of what they told us about that. Said, you know, this really works with what we're trying to do across this country after we have seen what has happened to us with this recent pandemic, that this is the kind of thoughts that they're looking for and what they're trying to find. So this is something that Rutherford County, I think, will be mirrored on again, and something we're doing in the health area that will be seen across this state and across the nation in what we're trying to accomplish. So, Commissioners, you're right on the very forefront of what we're trying to do here today, and how we're getting forward on this.
There a motion to approve in that, Commissioner Reed?
That is a motion to approve with staff comments.
Very good.
Just a little sidebar. Here's a map that we've generated showing the location of several of these to kind of give you a visual perspective. There is, if I can find my cursor, there's one that we're doing today is the Kittrell on the east side of the county, and then you've got another one here at the Rockvale Elementary School that you'll be looking at today, but also what Pettis has alluded to, we've got one proposed at the Almaville on Almaville Road on the west side above 840. We've got one planned for the Walter Hill Elementary School just north of the school. At the Jefferson Pike and 231 connection, just north of that intersection. There's another one proposed at the Las Casas Fire and EMS station, and then one on the south end of the county at behind the Christiana Elementary School on Parsons Road down there. So there's 6 that we're looking at right now, just to kind of give a, like Commissioner Reed was saying, you got your hand, you can see them, how they've ringed around the county.
Thank you, Mike. We have a motion and a second to approve the Public Safety Center at Kittrell. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye. Is there any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Site plan for the Public Safety Center at Rockvale. The item number is 21-3011. This is the same building on 45.95 acres in Rockvale. Doug?
Yes, sir. Thank you. you're correct. I won't go into the same introduction I did at the last one we just looked at. The building layout, as you can see, is pretty much identical to what was seen. This is going to be on, as Commissioner Reed stated, this will be on the same property as the Rockvale Elementary School along Highway 99. This center has been located as to not interfere with any potential expansion of the elementary school. This also is going to be served by sanitary sewer from the city of Murfreesboro. So a force main will be constructed to the existing sanitary sewer back towards the rear of the subject property. Because of that, they'll need city approval as well for that. But beyond that, the comments that we did send to the applicants, which is the county's design engineer, those have been addressed. This plan does appear to be in good order. So with that, we'll be happy to answer any other questions.
Commissioner Reed.
Mr. Chairman, I move for its approval with staff comments.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve the Public Safety Center at Rockvale. The item number is 21-3011. Any questions? All those in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye. Is there any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. One really quick comment, and it'll be really quick. Too often we're reacting and not planning. This is one of those rare items where we have a chance to really plan for the future, long-term future of the county, and that does my heart good to be able to say that we're looking and trying to plan for the long-term future of the county and do something about it. And Commissioner Reed, along with the mayor's office and others, has spent countless hours and this community should be indebted to you. Good job, Commissioner Reed. I appreciate you, bud. Staff comments and reports.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just a few items to consider. Our normal meeting in June for this particular meeting, the fourth Monday of the month, we need to reschedule that because on the 28th of June, this room will be taken up by the County Commission as they do their final budget vote. So normally in this situation where we run into a conflict due to a holiday or another meeting, we'll just schedule it for that following Tuesday. So I was curious to see if everybody was okay with us just doing it the Tuesday, which would be the 29th, as opposed to the 28th, which would be Monday. So.
What Doug is saying is that we're going to move the Planning Commission meeting from Monday the 28th to Tuesday the 29th at 9 p.m. Mark your calendars accordingly.
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
I don't want to be here that late.
Thank you.
I guess that leads to another question. Do we want to meet in the mezzanine back there, or do we want to continue meeting in the courthouse? Because that's going to make a difference as to how I advertise it. Courthouse.
This is a handicap accessible room,
right.
So just to consider that, and the mezzanine's not, so, but I mean.
We can leave it here, that's fine. But I just, now that, we're not under the same protocols we have been under for the last year or so, that suits us fine. We'll work either way. Okay. The other thing I wanted to bring up was I'm going to be trying to schedule a meeting for the Plan Development Committee that we set up, probably for mid-June. I'm thinking probably the week of the 21st. Right now, we are proposing to have 2 Planning Commission members on that task force or committee, whatever you want to call it. Marvin Whitworth had expressed some interest in being on that committee. I didn't know if anybody else wanted to sit in on that as well. I just need to know who I need to send the notice out to.
Be thinking about that. If you would like to volunteer right now, that the opportunity is open. If you want to think about it and get back with Doug, that's fine and well. If you don't volunteer, we'll probably come and get you.
It's for the plan development, the changes to PUDs and things, yeah. So we're going to be, now I don't have a date picked out. I'm thinking the week of the 21st of June is what I'm looking for, looking at this point. Now, like I said, I don't have a specific date. I figured once we had the planning commissioners, like I said, Marvin had already volunteered, and whoever else, then we'll get an email, mass email out to everybody just to kind of compare schedules for that week. Well, since he's not here, yeah, we might as well.
appoint him.
Yeah. But I'll give Craig a call and talk with him about it, just so he's okay with that, but that's fine. Okay. I believe that was everything. Mike, did you have anything else?
No, and
Okay.
the meeting is on the next meeting?
Yes, the next meeting's actually, I apologize, there's a little typo on the agenda. It's June 14th, not the 15th. So that still is on Monday.
Everyone got that? I think on your agenda, it says the next meeting is the 15th, but it actually is Monday, the 14th, okay? Our normal.
In my defense, the 5 is next to the 4 on the keyboard, so yeah. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Very good. Anything else? Anyone have any other comments? Once again, thank you for your participation today. It's much appreciated. And with that, we're adjourned.